Are you good? Need a drink?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, buddy. Oh, I guess it already started recording.
That's all good. We can trim it off.
Yep.
So I know Bill's been in the property management game a little longer than me. I grew up with some maintenance and construction background. I will bring that up in a minute, but let's start with you, Bill, on why let's just hear your story about how you even got into. You're a realtor,
Yep.
And you're on the realtor board, all the accolades. But let's just talk in why Bill Dean all of a sudden got into real estate.
Well, I had a problem. I was a commission salesman, and January 1st, like in particular, I had like a record setting for our office sales year. And then, bonuses, quarterly bonus, all that. And then January 1st, I was back to zero. Like, great. I just put crazy amount of time and hours in, and I made good money. But if I want to make more money, I have to work even more. And if I work less, then I'll make less. So I just knew this money equation wasn't working out. And luckily, a client of mine who I did not sell, but he sold me on reading the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And honestly, if you've never read it, every investor should read that, because it's not so much a tactical book, but it changes how you think about money. And I read that and I was like, boom, this is what I want to do. Like I never had that vision other than sitting on the beach sipping a margarita. So I read that book, and then that got me all fired up about, we'll call it passive income. Property management is not the passive side of that, but for the owner, it can be. And that's how I got started into it. Is I wanted to have money coming in. I wanted my money working harder than I was working for it, so that when January 1st came around, I already had money coming in.
And you are an owner. So what made you buy your first property? This was the background to that?
Yeah. Yep. So, it was an oil boom at that time. So the housing prices were going up 20, 25, 30%. And I looked for 9 months, tons of houses, and actually got lucky. An older gentleman saw me at a home show. I was working our booth, and he came in and, back in my day, I wish I would have done this and that and bought this, and now I've only got 2 duplexes left. I'm ready to sell one. Oh, really? So I ended up checking it out, and it was disgusting. They smoked in it. There was cigarette burns in the carpet. They were using throwing stars and knives and sticking them into the paneled walls. There were no showers in it. It was disgusting. But you got me started.
What made you choose investing in real estate?
I was already a general contractor at that time as far as sales go. So I was designing kitchens, roofs, windows. So I had this whole network of contractors who knew how to fix anything, really. So I knew I could repair it. And I really just wanted someone else to pay my mortgage, I guess is the simplest way of putting it. So, I found a deal where my first mortgage was $716, and I rented to a buddy for $750. So I basically lived for free. I paid the utilities and internet, and that got me started. I actually set aside all the rent money, and I figured you're going to pay rent in some way, either a mortgage or rent, anywhere you live for the rest of your life. So I just paid the mortgage and kept stashing that money for repairs and improvements. And then that eventually allowed me to get house number 2, or duplex number 2, I should say.
How long you're a realtor? How long into your realtor game were you before you decided to pull the trigger on investing into property?
So it was actually the other way. To be honest, I hated realtors. This will sound crazy, but I actually went to Robert Kiyosaki's real estate trainings across the country. So I learned how to do commercial real estate. I learned how to do all sorts of things with leases. I learned how to do creative finance, how to like an appraisal on a property, to run numbers to see if it's a good investment. So I stuck a ton of money into that, traveled all over the country, met amazing people. But I was running around, and it was actually one of those things when I said I was get to zero, January 1st and be at zero. Well, the company I was working for with my first one let me go. And then I was working with another company, and I was just in the process of getting number 3, and they let me go. So I was investing, working with a realtor, showing me this stuff. And he's like, why aren't you a realtor? It's like, you know more about houses than most realtors at this point. Like, literally, I open the door and you tell me what I'm seeing. So he's like, you need to become a realtor. And I was like, I don't really want to. It's going to affect my investing because now I have to disclose everything and la da 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 da. But after a few of my friends got, I'll say, kind of screwed over by just transactional realtors, where foundation issues were brought up, the roof was shot. There's just things I was like, guys, like, why are you? That's a $25,000 repair. Like, why'd you buy this place?
Yeah, it's not a light bulb going on.
Yeah, it was like, okay, you know what? I do need to get in this field and help protect my friends, help protect my family, just because I knew the cost from being in the remodeling industry, from having my own rentals at that time. So I really, I guess, identified with the protection of it. So that got me started. And then, yeah, here we are 9 years later. So,
how long did it take you from the decision to become a realtor to actually getting your certificate or license, or however that works?
About 8 months.
8 months.
Because it was show season. So I remember I was in Valley City at the winter show. I don't know if you know that giant metal barn on the north side of the highway there. But basically, I was doing all these home shows, sports shows, agriculture shows for the company I was with at the time. And then I had my iPad and I was doing practice tests for about 3-4 months. And so I actually got my license, I want to say in like January, but it was on ice until July, when I was finally ready to jump into a commission-only sales job again.
And then you quit the previous one and then started realtor.
I wish I could say quit. It was more of a, hey, we're going to cut your wage by a quarter. You have to work 25% more, and we're taking the company car. It's like, oh, you're firing me. No, it's just reconfiguring your job. It's like, I get the hint.
Yeah.
Adios.
So we'll go back into your background. I just want to hear, do you remember the first house you sold and what that accomplishment was? Or was it like, what was that feeling like when you finally sold your first house?
It was an interesting one. It was my former youth group leader. He had his house for sale by owner. And the realtor that got me into the industry actually was on vacation. It was like, hey, can you show my clients some houses? So I was, and they didn't like any of the ones we were looking at. And so finally, I'm like, you know what? I have a friend who's trying to sell their house. So took them just down the street basically and showed it to them. They liked it, and they ended up buying it. So it wasn't my client per se, but I still run into that family all the time. It's been fun to see because, they were just newlyweds at that time, and now they've got little kids and all that. But I remember the situation because I ended up helping out 2 sets of friends at that point.
Awesome. So we got the realtor, we got the property, and now what was that pivotal moment when you're like, I need to figure something out for property management? Walk me through some of your experiences, what you didn't like, or did you just self-manage yours? Did you try companies? Like, just walk me kind of through that story.
So it actually starts back when I was doing the home remodeling, general contracting. We did a giveaway for like $10,000 or $20,000. And so these tenants would sign up like, hey, my place needs repair. And I would walk in to do an estimate, and the houses were so disgusting. Like, the windows were beyond, you couldn't even wrap them. They were so bad. The kitchen cabinets were missing doors. I mean, there was just, the carpets were disgusting. The HVAC was barely working. I mean, there were so many things that I just felt bad for the tenant. And I had that experience over and over again. It's like, who the heck lets a property look like this? Like, that actually scarred me to the point where, as an owner, my goal is to keep all my properties market ready, meaning nothing really needs to be fixed. They can sell tomorrow. Like, that's a goal of mine, because I was like, I don't ever want to have a tenant in that situation where they're begging a party to come fix their rental because the owner won't. Like, it's like, no, that is a terrible way to invest in this game. So that was the start of it. And then I was managing my own properties because I had the network. I had the handymen, the contractors, the flooring guys, all that stuff, because we were in the mix of it. So Really, what happened was, as I was a realtor and I was really the COVID years, I was selling some clients, then I'd manage for them too. And I got to the point where it was like, okay, I can either just shrink down and manage my own personal properties or go big and create a company that I would trust to put my properties in. So that is how I came to your door, actually.